Oh yeah. Yep. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to WooTube. I'm Baram Woo. We'll just fade this bad boy out a little bit. Hope everyone's well. Tonight on WooTube we have an extra special guest. Would you please introduce yourself, and hopefully this works.
Hi. Hello. My name is Cobra Bubbles, or Rowan. I'm another UK player based out here in Norwich in the east of England. Been playing the game for a better part of a decade, on and off. And among other things, I'm here to join Bar and talk tonight about an exciting tournament we've got coming up in this part of the world.
Yeah, so kind of intrigued. Excellent. Not Yeti coming in with the hot info. They can hear both of us, which is always a really good start when you have a special guest on. So I haven't really asked you anything about this because you just reached out and said, "Do you mind if I come on and talk about the tournament?" And I was absolutely happy to have that. And I thought, rather than actually asking you in advance, I'll find out at the same time as everyone else. But I guess a little bit of background. So we met each other at UK Nats last year. Very good fun.
Yep.
And since then have spent a little time building some decks together. We made some pretty mean Keeling Ag Infusion decks before that all got banned out. Along with Encoder. And you actually did the best out of... do we all take them in the end? Did all three of us take Keeling Ag, or did Encoder... Did Cody... Cody bailed
Gosh,
from...
I don't remember.
I feel.
I feel like at least one of you bailed, yeah.
I
But
think
in a finish I'm very proud of. I came 9th at the Circuit Breaker Invitational on Keeling Ag, and I was one place ahead of Soccer 234, who was also on Keeling Ag. Maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah,
So that was quite
rings a bell.
gratifying.
And we had some pretty heated discussions about, in particular, the inclusion or not inclusion of Kakarembo. I think was one of our really big. It was quite fun debating whether or not it was actually worth keeping. You dropped it and did the best out of us. So, you know.
Yeah, I refer people to my decklist write-up for my thoughts on that. It's in the title.
Yeah, that's it. I remember now. Well, so speaking of Eternal, just to double check, I'm not gonna double do this. I noticed something. So, like, a tiny bit of news. Have you seen? Did you see this post on Netrunner DB? And I think it's gone up elsewhere, from Santa and Maninthemoon, about Chimera Format. Did you hear about this?
I did see this. Yes, I've just read the NRDB post. No more than that, but yeah, I saw it.
So on a sort of separate, slightly eternal note, this I just thought I'd give this a bit of a shout out off the top. So this is a new format which Maninthemoon and Santa have put together. which kind of they've created an algorithm which will generate you a deck, a little bit kind of Keyforge-esque, I guess, in its approach, um, from the complete eternal card pool, as far as I'm aware, with a couple of things which they have taken out, but mainly for the reason of um, fun, like they want the decks to be fun to play, and it generates you a random ampere and a random um what's the runner
Nova.
Nova, yeah, deck, and then you kind of play them against each other, and obviously they're random and they're singleton, and the whole idea is that they're very much kind of fun, bizarre, play what you get type decks. I haven't tried this yet. I think they only just kind of announced this recently. They are running a tournament, which I think is online, as far as I'm aware. I don't know how you'd do it if it wasn't online. So yes, I assume it is online. This is on the 1st of the 10th, because I can read American dates. So that's in a couple of weeks. Um, and yeah, you can check it out on their Always Be Running. And then if you find this deck list, which is called the newest and hottest format Chimera, posted by Santa, then it's got all the details there, and it's also got the link to the algorithm generator, which is this page here. I think it generates deck names as well. So here we go. My deck name is called the All-Seeing Astro Script. Sounds fun. And yeah, that sounds like a interesting kind of thing. What do you make of this, Rowan?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I would certainly play. I'd give it a go. I think I'm always, and I mean I think we have this in common. I'm a fan of deck building.
Yeah.
So although I found Keyforge an entertaining novelty, it didn't keep my attention for very long. And I particularly like draft and sealed formats as well. Although with Netrunner having to play both sides, that's always a little bit complicated. So I think this is a nice balance between um, the idea of like a sealed format without having to actually go and build two decks and spend all the time doing that, which takes a long time. And also it being Eternal Legal, I notice having the Terminal Directive campaign cards, which is a bizarre but interesting choice. Creates a lot of variety. Yeah, I think it's probably at the very least humorous, and potentially also generating some amusing and exciting games in Netrunner.
Yes, I did that. I mean that's going to Tanuki Do says I hope there's extra time in the round to account for all the reading involved, and especially, I mean, I've got a pretty good knowledge of the weird obscure cards, but I struggle anything before Luna, because by the time I started playing, everything pre-Luna had rotated. Um, and also, I have never read, apart from like glancing at them occasionally when I hit all in the collection of Netrunner DB. I've never looked at those Terminal Directive cards, so even I would be yeah, definitely kind of having to read quite a few bits and pieces. But uh yeah, I think for like you say, I think this feels like a kind of fun thing to uh chuck around it if you're just got like maybe a shorter amount of time, and but you know, I'm a deck builder as well, and so it wouldn't be my number one choice, but I think I'll definitely chuck up a couple of games of this with someone if they're keen at some point. Maybe actually I might even reach out to Maninthemoon Santa, see if our time zones sync up at any point where they could come on and do it on a stream, because like, it certainly seems I'm always up for trying some new funky format. And this is certainly new and funky. Um, yeah, I think that's like the only massive bit of news. So I guess um, tell me about what you have upcoming, and I assume it's in here somewhere, maybe.
Yes, it is the East Anglian Championship, the inaugural East Anglian Championship. You can find it on Always Be Running. It's spottable because it has a couple of flex emojis in the title.
Yeah,
Um,
I've found it very easily. Some great art here.
yeah, so
Fantastic card art.
we've got a few really exciting prizes, which I may as well mention off the top since the art is right there. Yeah, this is a snippet from a piece of art that actually an old friend and colleague of mine, Sarah Harrington, has done for us, which is it's an alt art for, would you believe it, DreamNet. So now considered contraband and therefore even more prestigious than it was before.
Sweet.
Um, and that will be available in one of the special side events we're running, which is a Netrunner Dream Crush side event, which you and Not Yeti, our tournament organizer, has put together in some consultation with Sanjay, I believe, who's talked about doing Netrunner Dream Crush before. Um,
I was gonna say if Sanjay isn't involved in some Netrunner Dream Crush crossover, then firstly you're really stepping on his territory, and secondly I'd just be amazed. So
yeah, I did actually. You and his credit came up with the idea independently, and I had to say, oh, there's somebody else who you may have heard of who's had this idea before. So I put them in. Well, I didn't put them in touch. I told Not Yeti, and he got in touch with Sanjay himself. I
nice.
shouldn't give myself too much credit. But to zoom out a little, the idea of the tournament basically is to have a like medium to large community run tournament that's separate from the official channels of tournaments, or that will have official circuit opener kit along with some of the other stuff. Um, Basically, just to uh, build some community in the region here in the east of the country, and also to uh, give a place for people to get prepped for upcoming Worlds and Nationals over the next couple of months. Um,
Nice.
and also partly because there's some appetite for in-person tournaments, I think, as we saw at the record-breaking Nottingham CO a few weeks ago. Uh, Continentals are all well and good, but people are excited to be playing their runner in person at the moment, and we wanted to capitalize on that and give them an opportunity to do that. And I should say, I've mentioned him already, but all credit to Not Yeti, aka Ewan, who's another player here in Norwich, good friend of mine, who's put in a lot of work to organise this tournament. Um, and yeah, really excited about it. But yeah, so it's going to be in Cambridge on the 30th of September, which is just under 2 weeks from now. And it will be probably 4 or 5 rounds, double-sided Swiss. Um, we're looking at hopefully 20 to 30 players, although we learned the other day that there's going to be some train strikes on that day, so that might affect people's ability to attend. Unfortunately, we'll see how that plays out. As always, I would encourage people not to cross picket lines, even to come and play in a fun Netrunner tournament. Um, but yeah, hopefully that doesn't affect attendance too badly. And we're also, and part of the main thing I wanted to talk to you about today, we're here to run. We're going to run a couple of interesting side events. I mentioned the Dream Crush. Um, there's also going to be a side event that we're calling the Boat Race, or the Cambridge
Okay.
Boat Race, which is, to my knowledge, one of the very few side events ever to have been designed entirely top down. Which is to say, we had the concept, and then we designed all the other aspects of the side event, the rules, etc. Subsequent to just thinking that it would be fun if we did something called a boat race, given that we're going to be in Cambridge, and there's a famous Cambridge boat race. For those who don't know, there's a famous boat race every year between uh, the University of Cambridge and the University of Oxford, which personally I actually think is kind of a farce of upper class British tomfoolery. But it makes for an interesting concept around which to build a Netrunner side event. Um, so
So what
obviously,
is the boat race?
so
That's what we want to hear.
yeah, I'll give you the cliff notes on how it came to be. So obviously, Ewan said, I think it would be funny if we did an event that was some kind of boat race. And obviously, there are two famous boats in Netrunner, both released last year, and the Endurance and OB Super Heavy Logistics, right?
Yeah.
These are the two cards that get referred to by the word boat. And so I thought, well, what can we do that might involve both of those cards? Uh, we can't do standard anymore because endurance is banned, but we
Hmm.
could do no ban list standard, or we could do eternal, which is a format I like. And I was looking into trying to figure out a way to do that. And basically, everyone who knows anything about Eternal told me that trying to play Endurance in Eternal is really stupid because there's not very much ice in the format, and you don't want to be paying 8 cost for a card that doesn't interact with the corp cards that you care about. So I was mulling it over and not sure what to do. And then they announced that there's going to be some Eternal played at Worlds as part of the Crown of Servers team event. 1/3 of players in that event will be playing Eternal. And that made me want to make this side event actually as close to being a taste of Eternal kind of event as possible, so that people who are coming to our tournament can have a little bit of Eternal practice and or just observe some Eternal and the kind of entertaining and wacky things that can happen in that format. Um, and so what I've settled on is um, the boat part of the boat race will be an ob deck, uh, piloted by myself, because I'm not going to be playing any Anglian Champs. I'm going to be the judge for the day.
Hmm.
But I am going to be gunslinging, as they say, and I'm going to have
Okay.
this Eternal Ob deck with me, and I'm going to have an Eternal Runner deck of each main faction. And basically, anyone who wants to at any point throughout the day can come and challenge me to a boat race match, at which point I will get out my Ob deck and I will give them a randomly determined one of the 3 runner decks I have. And they will have to try and beat my Ob deck. Um, and the person who does it in the fewest turns over the course of the whole day will win the race.
I was really hoping that
Boat
that
race,
was
yeah.
going to be like part of it there, because I was like, you've got the boat in there. That's good, but this has to be a
Yeah,
race now. So there's got to be, and I mean, Eternal um is a fun format for the fact that games can go 3 turns or 60 turns. So it can be quite the kind of you got quite a wide field
yeah,
for doing a kind of a speed run, if you like.
yeah. I mean, I will say, I think the race part of this is definitely the silliest part,
Yeah,
because as you point out, Eternal is widely variable in the number of turns it can take, and generally speaking, the runner doesn't have a great deal of control over that. um, so the yeah, the race part of it may end up being largely arbitrary who actually wins that. But the important thing, I think, is that we get to make a good pun, for
yep.
starters. Secondly, we get to play some fun Eternal on the side during our standard tournament, and give people a taste of that format, if they've not had one before. So that's the idea. What I thought we could do tonight is play at least one round of that exact format. So I will play Orb, and I'll give you one of 3 random runner decks. Um,
I would be absolutely happy to do that. For those who don't
yeah.
know, I have been kind of enjoying Eternal. I had a little human being called a narco mushroom on my stream a few weeks back, because I was actually feeling a bit sort of trepidative about the whole Eternal thing at Worlds. So I was like, right, I'm gonna get an Arco on. We'll play some Eternal games. Maybe I'll learn something. What I learned was that it's really fun. And since then, I've been building a lot of Eternal. I've been playing some Eternal. I've been playing in the Eternal League on GLC, which has been really great. And the thing that I am now most excited about for Worlds is the Eternal Corp list, which me and my teammates on my is it President of Servers, or which one is it at Worlds? I
I
can't
think we
remember.
call it
It's
Crown
Crown
of
of
Service
Servers,
these
isn't it?
days.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
of course. Um, so we have come up with a corp list which uh, I think is incredibly broken in a fantastic way, but in a fun way to play against.
Exciting.
So I'm gonna leak absolutely none of that because it's all super hot tech. But yeah, I'm like, basically, I'm not even sure that I'm going to be playing the Eternal list, because we actually have ended up being quite greedy and we have 2 Eternal players on our team. So myself and Augustus have been building this list together, and we'll maybe flip a coin to see who gets to play Eternal and who plays Standard on the day, or we'll decide on who feels sort of most comfortable. But I will be happy just watching it go off. Like that's all I want. Even if I'm not playing it, I'll be able to like glance over to my right or to my left and watch the whole thing happen in glorious live vision. So
Yeah,
that's
I've also been chatting to Augustus about some Eternal on and off lately, and yeah, he's got quite the mind for the format. He's been producing some very exciting innovations.
yeah, uh, we've formed some quite interesting some good stuff. But yeah, excited to do that. Okay, cool. So throw me a Eternal Runner deck list, and I will load it into my JNet.
Oh well, would you like to generate me a random number between 1 and 3?
Let's go with 1.
Okay, that's a good one to choose. Um,
Yeah.
you have selected Charmander as your starter Pokemon, which is to say, you
Okay.
got the orange one. Um,
Strike Wizard.
so this is the there isn't a like really stock wizard list for Eternal out there at the moment that I've seen. So I'm just using my wizard list because I like it and it's fun and it's got Faust. And Faust is fun.
Yeah.
It also
That
has
is the
various other cards that you can see there. Um, I should open Janet. Um, yeah, my intention on the day for this event is more or less to have people go in sight unseen. I
yeah.
think I will have the deck lists printed out just so people can, like, especially if they get the Shaper deck, they know what they're searching for with their SSGs and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
an Eternal Shaper deck. Just guess. Like just guess. You've got like 24 programs in there and an SMC and a Stim hack. Go on, you can work it out.
yeah. So there will be deck lists available, and also I might have somebody else covering playing the OB in the event that I am busy with judging or what have you, in which case they will also need the deck list available.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, there will be deck lists available on the day, but for now, I think we can go inside and see, and I think that will be more entertaining for the stream.
marvelous stuff. Okay, I will throw up a thing somewhere here. I've actually managed to remember to copy this. Bosh, let's remember to select Eternal, and I am the runner. Oh, you might need to join quite quick. Just there we go. It's up. There we go. There's a chance that my lobby sounds are on, so I'm just going to turn them down a little bit. Okay, so you are Ob. I'm potentially going to die turn 2. We will find out. Let me just have a little look at this list here. So I have got. I am not yet. He has noticed. I am logged in on my Smurf, like my incredibly. Uh,
Is it
um,
is it a Smurf if it has your name on the front of it? I don't know if that
yeah,
counts.
it's like technically the worst Smurf in the world. And someone I was playing against someone the other day, and then at the end I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing stuff on my stream, and they're like, oh, you're actually Bar Ramwu, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm the actor. But all right, I thought you were someone smurfing, like pretending to be Bar Ramwu as your Smurf, which I found like absolutely hilarious. Augustus,
Yeah, I guess
hey, how you doing? You haven't missed anything, don't worry. Sorry,
um,
carry on. Cobra, I just cut you off there. Apologies.
oh, it's okay. I was just continuing to riff on the Smurf situation. It's kind of a double bluff, right? If you if you have a Smurf that's so obviously you, everyone will think it couldn't possibly be him.
Yeah.
That's too obvious. Um,
Let's I might test some diaper under the name I am not Dave Sayer or something like that, like it works out. So what have I let me have a little look. So I have one APOC, good to know, potentially good against Ob. Employee Strike seems very good against Ob. I've had worse over Steel Skin. It's interesting, but I guess this is only net
you have
damage,
both, I think.
so oh yeah, we have both. Okay, fine. Katorga seems great. No Eternal points there. Only one Stim hack. I guess we're on Faust, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Two strike funds. Sure gamble. A couple of the price makes sense. We've got medium as a win con. Archives interface. Nice, spicy. Include pretty good against certain eternal lists. Hey Sven, how you doing? I don't know if I recognise your name, so thank you for joining. And then our pointed cards here. So we have Employee Strike, which has Eternal points. If you're not that familiar with Eternal, certain cards, which are deemed to be the most powerful ones, have either 1, 2, or 3 points, and we can spend up to 7. And if you spend a point, then you can use a whole playset. So Employee Strike is 2 points, if I'm not mistaken, and we can use 3 copies of that, and that's 2 of our points. Crowdfunding is 2 points, and Clan Vengeance is 2 points, right? I think I'm correct.
Yes, and the last point is 0.
Oh, yes, and of course, 0 is a point, because 0 plus Clan Vengeance, we all know, is fun and broken. I like
Extremely good.
the Hannah Wheels. I think is the one card from the most recent set, which it seems particularly good in Eternal. So I like that include. We're kind of expecting to see a reasonable amount of assets. Okay. I wonder if I like this
Um,
opening. No, I think I can do better than this. That looks better than this, so that's good.
Unfortunately, I'm already having some JNet issues.
Ah,
It wasn't showing me any of the images. I'm just going to try and reload here.
yeah.
See if that
Give
helps.
it a. It might be because I stalled out a little bit on the thing. Um, and for those of you who missed the start, so I'm joined by Cobra Bubbles today. From you are Norwich. You are Norwich, right? Am I right now?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a
Cool.
Londoner. I'm a South Londoner by blood, but I have lived in Norwich for about a decade.
Cool. Okay, I just wanted to check that I was not sort of massively off there. Who is yeah? So this we're just testing out the new kind of format which he's going to be running at East Anglia um, uh, championships. Um,
Yeah, East Ang
yeah.
to the cool kids.
I am not a cool kid, so I'm fine. um, and where he's going to be gunslinging as Ob, um, with some as Eternal Ob, and with 3 Eternal decks for you to randomly get yourself. How's your JNet looking? You've gone for the not. Oh, hello, not Yeti. Norwich Meta has been reduced to hosting tournaments in Cambridge. Ooh, strong
Yeah, it
word.
turns out it's really hard to get to Norwich from anywhere that isn't London,
Yeah, I know because
or
I
like
I wanted to come
yeah,
for something, and then I was like, oh yeah. I reckon I could probably make it free on that day. Let's just check the travel times, and I'm like, it's like 5 hours for me to get to Norwich from Bristol, which is not particularly doable, unfortunately, for a daytime jolly, unfortunately. But I'm gonna get rid of those for a second.
yeah.
Okay, how are you looking on your
Okay.
side?
Well, I still don't have card images, but I have card names, so that is
Okay.
enough in theory. I guess I'm just playing on hard mode here. When I said we'd play these games sight unseen, this wasn't quite what I had in mind,
Yeah,
but I guess it'll
well,
do.
your words, not mine.
Yeah, I'm immediately punished by karma. Let's see,
um,
how do I do this?
Also, speaking of that, I believe you have people streaming the event because I unfortunately, not yet. He did ask if I was available, and unfortunately, I'm not actually. I'm away and at a family thing, but I think you've got someone streaming some of the games. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the intention. We're still finalizing that, but the hope is to have it now. I've forgotten the name of their channel. Not yet. You can probably tell us in the chat. But it's
I
Marbles,
think
who
I
you
was.
may know from
Yeah,
TLC
I
and
think I
elsewhere.
was watching. I think I was watching them the other day.
Yeah,
Is it
they did a
Hedge? Is it
video
something
recently.
Hedge? Emergency Hedge?
Oh yeah, Emergency Hedge. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So not yet. I did some commentary with Marbles on one of the accelerated meta tests in the summer, and had a really good time. And not yet. He was chatting to her, and they agreed that hopefully August to plan. we're going to be streaming directly to their YouTube channel, and Marbles and Dave will be providing some commentary for us.
Yeah, marvelous stuff.
Okay, some of my images have loaded now, so
All right. Okay.
I
Well,
guess
maybe.
I'll take a turn of some kind.
Yeah.
Let's do.
Maybe stuff will happen as more cards appear. Okay. And always the fun thing with Orb in Eternal is you have no idea. Now we're Whizz, which is good for us, so we can definitely go and trash some stuff. Let's see if we can trash this stuff. Quite sure what I'm probably expecting like tour guide and
Right.
yeah, there we are. Okay, so that can fire. Don't like the idea of you ever having a Jeeves on board, so I think we're going to stick a Parasite there, and then we're going to.
That's what we were afraid of. Yeah.
There is a slight chance that this is a Rashida, and I should have gone and checked server 2 first. But
Sadly not.
yeah, it's probably not a great. It's actually like more likely to be a Mark Yale or something that you can instantly pull a Rashida with.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
So for those of you who aren't familiar, you might be familiar with Jeeves. This is a old version of essentially what is now wage workers, but it works a bit differently. And Orb usually wants to combine this with mutually assured destruction to kill you in one turn, because it can mutually assured destruction, gain a click with Jeeves, and then play high profile target, which is a card which is banned, I think, purely because of mutually assured destruction, right?
Yeah, I believe it was banned at the time of the Midnight Sun release, because yeah, that combo is pretty easy
Bit,
to assemble,
bit too
and
disgusting.
kills any runner. Um, I'm gonna do some option shenanigans here with this Advanced Assembly Lines card.
Yeah.
So I get to trash it to install a card from my hand, but because I'm trashing it, that means because I'm Orb, I also get to install a card from my deck at the same time.
So is
So
this
that's
like
pretty nice. So I
install a
net 2
Spin
credits
Doctor
and
to
install
draw
2 cards.
two, maybe? Who knows? It might just be a Rashida.
I think it's going to be
Or a Svigator.
Rashida, yes. Gonna overwrite that card.
Ooh,
Here.
interesting.
Nice, my Rashida. And I'm
Okay.
gonna remember that I have another click because Advanced Assembly Lines is silly, and I guess I'll install this as well. There we go.
Yeah, seems like a pretty disgusting card in Orb. Like really
It's
quite
not
disgusting.
bad.
Okay, right. Do I just challenge? I think I want like. Hmm, let's check this again. Oh,
Got him.
that's the worst of the options. I'm not totally familiar yet with Eternal Icepool, but I think that's pretty much the worst face check that there is in Eternal.
Yeah, generally people are prioritizing cheap and the runs
Yeah.
um, over any kind of real face check. Although there are some decks in which that's not true, notably empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pop this spin.
Um,
But,
you've you've probably had a chance to play against it yet, but Augustus has a particularly disgusting Umti, which I'm quite a big fan of.
yeah, he and I were doing some theory crafting around that deck a week or two ago.
When
Mm.
when whenever a card which is utter binder fodder in every other situation hits the table, you know that something really suspicious is up. And I think having to read Isabel Maguire and wonder what the hell Augustus's plan was to do with this card, and then slowly work it out as he built a board state, was pretty impressive.
It's
Uh,
delightful. Isabel Maguire, when he mentioned it to me, one of the few cards for which I could remember both the art and the flavor text, but not the actual game text, which tells you how much gameplay it saw at
yeah,
the time.
uh,
Um,
that's impressive. So good recall.
yeah, my brain is just full of cards for all sorts of games from years and years ago. I still have basically the whole of the Game of Thrones first edition LCG card pool in my head, even though nobody plays that game anymore.
You see, I can only remember the cost, the influence, and what the card does, and normally not the name. I remember like what faction it's in. Like my brain works in a very specific way. It clearly uh, it clearly defines stuff in certain ways and files it away. Um, but yeah, I can like pull up like, oh, I know that there's a shaper resource which costs one and does this thing and it's two influence. I won't be able to tell you what it's called, which is a problem. What did they? Not yet. He asks. Oh, just a second. Sorry. Augustus says, "Would you believe my genuine first plan with that deck was to clone suffrage a replanting forever?" I would believe that.
Uh,
It's not a bad
yeah,
hit.
that's
And
great.
not yet. He asked, "What did they think Isabel Maguire would do when they printed it?" And I have no idea because that was like I think it was a lunar or spin. It's like really old. I think it's maybe spin cycle.
Yeah.
And so you
It's
didn't
like,
have
I mean,
like an enemy. I guess maybe you could recycle a like campaign with it, right? It's not ice,
I
right? It's any
guess,
card
yeah, I guess you pick up your Adonis campaign.
and
I guess
put it
that's
back.
fine. I
Um,
think it was more a case of, I mean, it's a bit like the early days of Magic the Gathering, where they just sort of went, well, we've got all this design space to play around in.
yeah, let's
Let's do
throw
some things. And
some
let's not
stuff
worry too
against the
much
wall.
about whether they, yeah, not worry too much about whether they'll come up in your average game of Netrunner or not. Um, but they'll sure exist. And we like those kind of cards because in some ways, because they let us do things like, or let people do things like discover that Netrunner is Turing complete, um, because of all the weird sorts of things you can do,
Yeah,
which is
to
always
be fair, I somewhat miss the ridiculous like let's just print this on a card and like it might not be good because they're the funnest things to build around. Like that's what I've made my entire Netrunner persona about, really.
yeah,
That was quite the turn, wasn't it? Was that one turn?
yes. Took me a while to, well, mostly
Yeah.
because I was chatting crap about Isabel Maguire, but I have
Um,
uh,
as will happen.
installed many things, and I have 4 counters on my Estelle Moon, which means I can, whenever I like, draw a card and draw 4 cards and gain
Draw
8 credits
cards and gain 8 credits, and I now have to go and trash
and
this
figure out.
immediately. Um, and you get a one cost install with it.
Yeah,
Estelle
yeah,
Moon
and it
already very broken. Let's put her in Ob, which is also very broken. Um,
yes, I think Estelle is actually kind of the reason that Ob has points, because to play
yeah,
these 2 cards together is 5 of your 7 eternal points, which is, a lot. I mean, it's still kind of unreasonable and very one of the most powerful things in the format, but yeah.
easily.
Yeah, I will just make the pop here. I will install, guess I'll install some bankers.
How much do I care? I care about your draw more than your money, but I'm more worried about what's in server two. But if I want to get in there, I mean, I can't let you have this Rashida, which is like, kind of need to check this other stuff. Oh, did I? I think I took an extra one off Wizard there, by mistake. I clicked too fast. I have another credit on Wizard if I do want to use it. Don't think I do. I want to hit this. Yeah, that'll do. We can get rid of that. We can get rid of Another card. Oh dear. Uh, I don't think I want to play anything that gives me core damage in this particular matchup, just in case. I guess like one core damage wouldn't really
I
change the
think,
maths.
yeah, the difference between 4 and 5 doesn't matter, right? Because I do damage in intervals
In
of 2.
twos, yeah.
Speaking of,
Oh, what?
uh,
Oh gosh, I think I might be dead.
yes, I think you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Have I done my math right? Yeah. So I'll trash these lovely cards I've just reversed.
Maybe,
Onto
maybe
the
your race, maybe your race. Bearing in mind you know this deck, maybe the race aspect should more be like the winner is either uh who wins quickest, or more importantly, who survives longest. I think it should be a race
That is an interesting point, yeah.
for the longest time because yeah, I felt like I had a reasonable start there. But that didn't go particularly my way. Um,
Yeah, I find the wizard matchup in particular can be really swingy. Because if you like the first hand that I mulliganed away, I would have kept in another matchup, but I only had like one good asset to put down.
right.
And if you don't have more than one good asset in the first turn, the wizard just trashes whatever you put, and
Yeah.
you're back to square one. And yeah, if your draw isn't kind to your Zob, then you just can't put out enough things that wizard can't beat, and you never have enough cards on the table to do your combo.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like next turn I maybe started to have some pressure. I'd got a medium in hand, so maybe I can start putting
yeah,
some pressure on R&D. Um, there was a chance that, well, no, I couldn't have got through it that turn. I was like, also I could parasite this Enigma, and then maybe, but it's going to take me a couple of turns to get in and actually deal with that. What I assumed was probably a Jeeves. Correct?
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, my Estelle drew me into the nuts. It really just drew me
Yeah.
into my whole combo, which was pretty great.
Estelle
So
will
very
do
lucky
that.
for me there.
I guess maybe like I should
Yeah,
have been hunting for employee strike would have been like a reasonable like I needed probably a bit more to focus a bit more on draw because at least
yeah.
if I uh actually you don't really need it to pop off, right? Like
No, but it definitely slows me down. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I got an ob trigger. Well, I guess technically every turn of the game, although on the last turn it didn't matter. But the 3 ob triggers that I got were extremely relevant,
yeah.
and yeah, just got me through a lot more of the cards in my deck.
So not
Just doing the
Yeti
combo.
is asking, would Wizards see play in modern day standard if he were legal? Which is a pretty interesting
That's a
question.
great question. I Is Wizard better than Hashiko? I think in this exact meta game, probably not. I think there are definitely points like between when Wizard rotated and now, there are times when he would have been like hugely effective in the meta game. Um, like when CTM was still more of a thing before. Well,
Mm.
I guess it was before last year's rotation was when CTM was last really a big thing, but Wizard would have really hampered that deck. All these Bladderwort ob decks that have been floating around, Wizard eats them up pretty well. Even the like Warroad tracker decks, Wizard makes a dent in that deck's game plan. Um, Probably Hashiko is better against the corpse that exists now, though.
I guess
I would say.
Hashiko is better against a wider range of the corpse, right? If you like
Yes.
come up against Glacier as wizards, like you just I don't know, hope that they have some Ginger City grids that you can trash with your ability or something. Like you're not gonna really be gaining. Whereas if you're drawing 2 cards a turn, although not anymore, 1 card a turn now. Um, if you're drawing, every single turn basically for free, then you're just gonna find your stuff, right? Do you think Wizard is stronger than Freedom?
That is a really interesting one as well. I mean, I think the thing that Wizard has in his favor in some ways is the same thing that Hashiko has in her favor, which is it's all the good stuff is already in play on turn one. Right?
True.
Like with Freedom, you also need to install viruses. Or with Lou, for example, you you need to be making the credits do the trashing in order to trigger your ability.
Yeah,
Or you have imp. Whereas with Wizard, it just fuels the thing. And if that's the thing you want to be doing, because the metagame wants you to be trashing assets, then fantastic.
yeah,
And the thing that's so good about Hashiko is she just does the thing pretty much automatically, and the thing that she does is good against any corp, really.
yeah.
Um,
So Augustus thinks that Wizard is pretty close to Hosh. I feel like people would play both depending on their meta read, which I think is the correct sort of answer. And yeah, if we're feeling
yeah,
like it's an
maybe.
asset heavy meta, then like there's probably just enough especially with like new tools, if you really need it, there's enough draw in Anarch that you could just get your draw from that, and if you're making 3 credits a turn, essentially, um, then that's probably good enough. And Augustus, I'll talk to you
I
about Eternal Freedom another time, like off air.
Yeah. Better minds than mine have been basically continually for the past several years been discovering that anything you can do as runner is better if you do it in Hashiko. And I'm kind of it just it's happened so consistently for so long that I'm all the way one around, I think. Like maybe the DreamNet ban affects that, but for the most part, like I my guess is in an asset heavy meta game, I'd still rather run Hashiko with Miss Bones than run Wizard, but that might be pessimistic of me.
Yeah. Do you want to play another one with a different one of the runner decks, or do you want to keep them a bit under wraps in terms of what the runner decks are until East Anglia
No,
Championships?
I'm happy to talk about the decks or to play another game, either or.
Cool. Maybe throw me another deck list, and I'll pull it into JNet, and we can play an alternative. Uh, let's
Okay.
pick number 3. Went with 1
Okay,
before.
number three is the Bulbasaur Shaper deck.
Not yet.
I used to have.
Asking, do people play Hashiko in Eternal? And I don't think so. I don't like. Interestingly, ooh, Hayley. Okay, yeah, this is. I'm somewhat familiar with at least this style of deck. So,
Yeah,
um,
for this one I'm just using exactly an Arca Mushrooms list because she has a much better handle on how to build shape in
yeah,
the
I
format than I do.
think I should have all this already in my deck, like deck list as well, if I can find it. Sorry everyone for skipping past pages like this. I know it's really like uh oh, maybe I haven't got it on. Nope, I do need to import it. Okay.
Yeah, to address that question about Hashiko and Eternal, I've not seen anyone playing Hashiko and Eternal, and the reason for that is that you can play Max, I
Yeah, that's
think.
what Augustus has
So
said
any
as well.
deck that like because there's two reasons really. One of them is you can play Max, and the other one is that the meta game makes Wizard very good. Like the Eternal meta game, I think does make Wizard better than Hashika, um, because you can have games like the one we just had, which only last 4 turns, where the value Hashika gives you is limited, and
Hmm.
also there's a lot of things you want to be trashing. Almost all corp decks in Eternal are focused on assets in some way or another, and obviously because you have the whole of the card pool available to you, generally speaking, you're choosing the ones that are the most annoying for the runner to trash. So there's a lot of 4 and 5 trash costs in the format.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but
Uh,
yeah, Max is just a much like if you need to get to particular cards, Max does that for you a lot quicker than Hashiko does, which is important in the format.
right, I'm gonna stick a game up right about now. Okay. So what I have found is that I'm doing all right playing Eternal when I'm using my own decks. I do suck playing Eternal using other people's decks. Uh,
Interesting. Yeah, I'm
which I was like really worried about jumping into Eternal, because I was like, I think there's going to be too many choices for me to deck build from. But actually, I still need to build the decks, because otherwise I don't haven't got a really good grasp on where I should be going with them.
yeah, that's interesting. definitely the kind of person who needs to net deck to learn a new game or a new format. Um, like, yeah, I've been playing this Mad Orb on and off since I got into Eternal, basically, just because it's one of the hot decks and it has been really helpful to learn different kind of lines of runner play from the corp side of the table.
Yeah,
I do build my own runners a little bit more, but that's mostly because you can take a existing shell and kind of flex in the things that you're interested in.
yeah.
Um,
And I found particularly in Eternal, it's like it's for with a few exceptions, like maybe DLR Max, something along those lines. The runners are very much about the corps are about setting up some absolutely unstoppable board state as fast as they can. Like kind of, I guess not quite as like standard net runner because yes, um, because it's not totally unstoppable normally. Whereas in Eternal, you get to a point where you're like, the corp has won, and there's nothing I can do about it. And the runners are more about just trying to react to that as fast as possible. Um, or that's what I get.
yeah, it can be. I mean, as you say, there are some very proactive runners. So, like the Tag Me Max runner is like really playing the game on their own terms,
Hmm.
in a way that forces the corp to react. And actually, maybe more than any other deck in the format, that deck affects corp deck building choices quite a lot. Like if you can't tangle with that deck as corp, you basically can't be viable in the format.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, broadly speaking, as in most formats of Netrunner, the corp sets the pace and the runner reacts to it. I mean, your deck, the that you're playing right now, the Hayley deck, is the kind of deck that basically says, no, we're going to play the game at my pace, but not at a fast pace that I'm dictating. I'm just going to stall the game out as much as possible, and put the corp in a place where they basically cannot win, or as close to that as it is possible, and then get around to winning in their own time. It's kind of the closest to a true control deck in the style of like Magic the Gathering that Netrunner has ever had. Some people, myself included, really love that style of play, so it's cool to see. But it can be a hard one to get your head around.
Um, Augustus does say that Reg Max might be a bit underexplored, and I think there's an Eternal competition recently where like it was one of the ones that that Jeff ran, and it was a like 100 card kind of fairly standard max which won it, and it was just kind of bizarre when you looked at it, but yeah, it did really really well. Um, and Friedan, how you doing? Was Says at least one person would play Whizz in standard. This guy. So clearly, clearly a bit of a Whizz fan. Uh,
Yeah, Fryden's another Norwich player and
ah,
old friend of mine. And
nice.
yeah, long time Wizard. He played Wizard, as he likes to say, before it was cool. Which is to say, in like, I mean, Wizard got cool probably in like 2014, so
I played Wizard before
I've been
people
playing
were
Wizard a
playing
long
assets.
time. Yeah.
um, Let me remember how crowdfunding works. I think I remember how crowdfunding works. We'll find out if I'm correct. Oh, but it needs to be a successful run, and if I run your spin doctor, you pop a spin doctor. I'm true that I can run 3 times, discard the crowdfunding, then install the crowdfunding, right? That's
You sure can. Yeah.
fantastic. Not giving away my hand in any way, shape, or form. We'll run server 2.
You seem to have had a really good opening hand, by the way. The Gamble Velasco crowdfunding is a hell of a start.
Yeah, that seemed alright. Uh,
I'm gonna pop this mark. Oh, hi,
oh,
Mark.
damn it. So much for my 3 successful runs, eh? Um, where are my hyperdrivers? I don't have hyperdrivers, right? No, I can't have. Do I have hyperdrivers?
Points. Hyperdriver is points, I'm
Yeah,
afraid, so
I
you
would
do not.
assume not.
Your
What is
points
my points? Blue Moose, crowdfunding, film critic. Fine. Oh, and strike.
and
Okay,
Lady
and
Strike.
strike. That would have been
So
a good thing to find. Okay.
run six eternal points, I think. You could play if you tweak the influence of that list, you could play Rumor Mill over Strike. which is an
Yeah,
interesting
I
option.
kind of
Rumor
feel
Mill
like
is
Rumor might be
very good against the deck.
a very good card. Um,
But Strike is a bit better against most of the CI decks, I think, than Rumor Mill. Not all of them, but many of them. Uh,
just play a cheeky vamp and then watch for CI decks like Wilt.
yeah, could do.
Okay, so we'll just put these down.
Yeah, you're gonna have all the money in the world. I
Some
get to resolve
credits.
another cheater. Hmm. Okay.
Like the one thing that I was testing recently was playing Wizard with Solidarity Badge, which I found fantastic. Like that's an card which fits
Ah,
really well into Wizard because you basically turn yourself into Hishiko, right? Because you have all these credits for trashing stuff, and then you also draw once a turn. It's not quite twice
yeah,
a turn, but like it's a clickless draw. Um, and like unfortunately the remover tag is almost non-consequential because unless you're maybe playing some like against some R plus list, and I think R plus is potentially got some really strong options in Eternal. You're probably only ever taking tags if you're immediately gonna die to them.
yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I think if the corp is tagging you and not killing you, they've done something wrong. Usually in Eternal, or your tech cards have been you've played enough Plastic Carapaces or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, I also agree that R plus is strong. I think there's some good options. I think the most obvious thing for me is to do the 24/7 news cycle breaking news combo, which lets you uninteractively give the
yeah,
rarity tags for very little investment, and then you just boom them or what have you.
yeah.
Um,
Scoring a breaking news
but
for 0 credits feels pretty good. Um,
it is good. But yeah, the solidarity badge is an interesting one. I think I like it. I am a huge fan of Zero in the Anna decks in the format. I think that's a really good way to spend a point because it just gets you through your deck that much
yeah,
faster. Solidarity badge feels like in this matchup, I would worry that it was a little slow. Like even if you'd had it on turn one in the last game, it would have drawn you at most two cards.
true.
Um, Whereas Zero would have drawn you four in that same time. Um,
Probably a million
but
actually.
but
I had steel skins and I've had worses in hand, so like
yeah.
um yes, yeah.
But
That's pretty
I mean,
fair.
the other thing is, I do find like because so few games of Eternal get played compared to uh, well, basically any other format of Netrunner. Um, I do find it's easy to like over theory craft and get yourself in like I do this a lot in standard anyway, but get yourself into a corner of thinking the format's going to be too fast, and then yeah, somebody turns up with their Glacier HB deck, and you're like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
have to play a normal length game of Netrunner now, and I wish I had my slower, grindier cards in my runner deck. So it's a very mixed bag, as you might imagine from a card pool so big. That is sad for me.
That is I hate to say it, but I'm happy that you're sad. So, a terrible thing to say. But, let's think. I will throw this out. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
you
like
have
the
so much more.
yeah. I mean, I have one credit right now, but there's a little bit. I'm dripping for a small amount next turn. Let's put it that way. Um, for people tuning in not too familiar with Eternal, you might remember crowdfunding, one of the funnest cards ever made. Unfortunately, just a little bit overpushed, because this is just a bit broken as an econ engine. And talking about broken econ engines, this is Blue Moose, which is just money every single turn. Um, yeah, this probably should never have been printed, especially considering it's influence free.
Yeah, what a silly card.
Not
I
yet.
don't
He wants
even.
to unban
Yeah,
crowdfunding. What do you think?
he and I have had this conversation in the pub, And I said to him a simple thing, which is this card costs 3 influence and 2 eternal points, and it's still in nearly every eternal run,
Yeah,
right?
so true.
Like this Shaper deck, which has already in Blue Moose and Aesop's one of the most powerful econ engines in the game of all time, it still spends 9 influence and 2 eternal points on crowdfunding. That's how good this card is. Just totally, it breaks the game in half. It's like the same way Blue Moose does. It's like the runner just gets to have money forever.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
there's no
particularly
up.
in null signal games is current thing of like let's keep money finite. I think I think this is very much the opposite of that theory.
I agree. I'm
I guess
gonna have some fun this turn.
you could bring back crowdfunding, bring back Scorp, done, solved, right?
I'm sure it doesn't create any other knock-on
No,
effects.
don't worry. Let Losky worry about that. He can deal with that in post. Oh, boo! My current.
Uh-huh.
Planning on making some
Um,
runs as well.
yeah, current wars extremely important in Eternal.
Mm.
That you stopped me from using this last turn, so that
Okay,
was brilliant.
that's actually massively good for me.
Yeah, but now I'm gonna go and get your friend of mine,
Ugh.
Miss Moon.
Oh.
Sadly, I only have one follow-up. Install.
Ooh, only one install. Wow. Okay. Uh, so let's Blue Moose this fan site. You're not going to be scoring anything, so that seems fairly pointless. Let's play an employee strike.
The current wars continue.
They do.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll get my
Currently, we are
moon
warring.
value.
Will yeah, I think I do want to probably go and get whatever this is.
Purge.
I definitely want to get rid of that. And I'm giving you money left, right, and centre here. Have I made 2 successful runs?
No, because I cracked the moon,
Yeah. Okay, so
as it
there's
were.
no point in me running again. I don't really want to install 2 cards because I might no yeah ooh no I think I'm all right, but equally somewhat pointless. I think I'm just gonna
My
draw.
understanding of the my understanding of the Hayley deck is, broadly speaking, if you have a spec click, you should be using it to draw 2 cards.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I don't need this, and I want that. I probably want that. I think get rid of that. Money seems all right for me. I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
I mean, speaking of a ban list, I don't think there's anything which for a while I was like, well, they could probably unban Lamb, but they've done that. I think the ban list is pretty as is at the moment. I don't think there's anything too.
Oh, in standard, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I guess so. I quite like the Lamb unban. I think it just an interesting one to have
yeah,
back in the
it
game.
doesn't feel like it's gonna break anything. Gives Shaper something to play with, which will inevitably get imported into Anarch and be better there. So the game goes on.
Agreed. Let's see. I think well, I'm obliged to continue our ongoing conflict. And let's go new remote install. I'll do this now. Oh, I don't have any Rashidas left. Did I cut the third Rashida?
That is fantastic.
Okay, well I'll get this one. This one's also pretty good.
That is also a good card.
I'll put this card over here, and so
Okay, right. I kind of very much need some stuff. Right, that can disappear. Okay. Well, that's a thing. Put these two down. Let's
you
run.
have icebreakers.
We do. Let's run straight into an enigma. That's pretty sure that's going to happen right now. So do we? I want to keep. How many cards in hand? Definitely don't want to be below 4. I feel like that feels like where it gets like insanely risky.
Yeah, it's pretty trivially easy for me to stick 2 tags
Yeah.
if I have the combo.
Trivially easy. That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's fine.
Now I kind of do want to trash this just so that you have one less thing to potentially res. And then the
Yeah,
question
I think
is,
I
do I
agree.
want you to res your ice? I think not yet. Ooh. Okay. Now I know that you have some tech
Now
faith.
then. Yes.
I would imagine that the deck is running a Malia, and you can trash your Jeeves to grab the Malia. So I don't think this saves me for very long. It might,
No, but
it
we could
might
cover it off.
not even. Not Yeti is asking whether for Worlds I'm planning on bringing meta stuff or funky brews. Now that is one hell of a question. I mean, I'm always planning to bring funky brews. But in all honesty, I haven't thought much about standard. I've been having a lot of fun with Augustus building Eternal, and are like my thoughts on on like what I actually bring to the main event. No idea. I'm sure it will have something interesting in there. Although I did say to Anarko the other day that I was like, my whole persona is actually just a work, and I'm gonna turn up to Worlds with like good stuff in Eco and scoring Asa, and then like walk over all my opponents while they try and work out where the jank is in my decks. Which
I mean, I think if I can take a moment to compliment my gracious host, I think one of the things you bring to the game, to the community, which is really fun, is that you are, I mean, I guess to use Magic terminology, you're what they call a Johnny, as in somebody who likes to play a lot of different kinds of weird, unusual engine kind of decks to make things work in your own way. And you're also kind of a spike, like you play to win at tournaments and you play like impressive, powerful Netrunner, and sometimes you do that with the kind of engine strange stuff that you've put together. So it's kind of an exciting combination of, for someone like me who's always aspired to be a bit of a uh, to win things with my own creations where I can. Um, it's cool to see you doing that. Like I think it's fun to have that combination, and to not necessarily fall clearly in either camp.
I mean,
Um,
I'd love to say it was all a plan, but I genuinely there's only been a couple of times where I've seen a deck that I've net decked. A, that I've like been like, I really want to play this, I really want to try it, and B, that I've understood well enough to do well with it. And in fact, I can probably name those decks like really easily. So like one of the very first decks when I that I first ever net decked, and I was like, oh, this works pretty well, was RPC Biotic SSO deck. It was one which
Sure.
did like this way back in the day, but oh, not that far back in the day really. But um, I sort of saw that. I understood what he was doing. I took it to a GNK and it did quite well, and I was like, I get this, and that made sense. And then nothing for like 4 years until Pigeon Fighter, and I went to Irish Nats last year. That was where Extra Chris took. I think that was the first Pigeon Fighter that he took um, to Irish Nats. Please please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the first Pigeon, like where he took the first Pigeon Fighter, or he was certainly playing that deck there. Um, and I got to see him like play it at a really high level, like watching him play that versus Anarcho on Drago R plus prison nonsense was like a really captivating game, like when they had the final. And then I got to talk to him about it, and then I got to play like I was like, can I try your deck? And so I just shuffled it up and we played a couple of games, and he told me his thought process behind it, and I understood it. And then I took that to a competition and a tweaked version to the next one. It's the first time I've ever like done really well and like just understood it completely. And I was like, I know what I'm doing with this. And I didn't have a better corp at the time. I didn't have anything really spicy, so I was like, well, I'm just going to play this.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's a great feeling. Speaking of great feelings, I think I'm going to
oh my
kill you here
gosh.
horribly. But I'm just going to talk through the line because it's quite fun. So I fetch something
Okay.
through boot camp last turn, which lets me do something fairly innocuous, which is res something at the start of my turn for a credit.
Oh, of course. No, I should have gone and trashed it.
Um, which means I now have 3 rest cards, but I still have a New Angeli City Hall to deal with, which lets Bar remove tags clicklessly. Pretty powerful.
I'll quickly
Um,
hover over this card before it
yeah.
disappears. I guess it won't
So
disappear.
I get to resolve my mutually shared destruction because of the weird way that Jeeves works. I get the click, as you'll see on JNet. JNet represents this accurately. I get the click after paying the cost for the operation, but before resolving the effect, which means I can trash Jeeves as one of the cards I trash. I'd still get the extra click, which is pretty nice. So I'll do that. I'll trash 3 cards and get 3 tags on Bar, and I will search for a 1-cost card. So that at the same time as giving him tags, I also get to install a Malia and blank his New Entity City Hall. So now
Boo.
he has tags, he doesn't have a New Entity City Hall, and I can deal him 6 damage with high profile target.
So I thought I was safe for one more turn here because I was like, you've only got 2 cards resed, forgetting that there's text on some of your cards. Uh, in
Yeah,
specific executive boot camp, which obviously like this is such a good card in Ob. Like this is a ridiculous. Like if this was
yeah,
in standard, even though like you can pop it, but it's a 0 cost, so you can't Ob off it. Like I would play this in at least as a one of in almost every Orb deck Bar's playing, I feel.
yeah, agreed. It's one of my favorite Netrunner cards of all time, actually. One of the corp decks I actually, in a similar way, got big into one of my early net decks back in the day, in around 2014 or so when I started playing, was Blue Sun,
Yeah,
which my good friend Tagore, who I met through the Game of Thrones card game, who some old Netrunner heads may remember. I borrowed his Blue Sun deck. He stayed with me for a Norwich tournament one time, and I borrowed his Blue Sun deck and played it in the tournament. I had a great time, and then played Blue Sun continually for like a year and a half after that. And yeah, Boot Camp was just lovely in that deck because Blue Sun lets you return your res cards to your hand to gain credits equal to their res cost at the start of turn,
very nice.
and lets you just res them for free. Well, not for free, but without the runner having to interact with you to start chaining off your various parts of your Blue Sun engine. And yeah, similarly, it lets you do some really fun stuff in Orb in Eternal. I really like the card.
Also, this was really good Leela tech back in the day, so I could see this
Mm.
being even like it's only one influence. I could see this slotting into quite a few decks as a like I lose to Hermes. So oh my word, this you'd put three of these in a Stegodon deck, right? like, 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 how disgusting is that?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it just lets you res things on all the servers, and then anywhere they
On
run, you
all
get
the
to
other
pick them up.
servers, and
Yeah,
this isn't unique. You could have
sure isn't.
you could have three of these going. That's pretty foul. I mean, I don't think Eternal is like the place to try and like score a 3-1 to wheel out a win con, but in a friendlier Eternal game, like that's a disgusting interaction. Uh, yeah, marvelous.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder a little bit about Stegodon in Eternal because, as I said earlier, most runners are not coming. They're not really worried about ice as the thing that they're like have to contend with.
Especially
Um,
strength, actually, like with a lot of
yeah,
runners are using things like Amakua and Faust as their breakers, and that's something which I have already started to try and exploit when I'm building
yeah,
my corp decks, and neither of them deal with strength gain very well. Like Faust can only boost so much before you're like, well, I actually don't have any cards left. um so
yeah. All the bin breakers as well, right? The Anak decks are all running
yeah,
bin
I
breakers,
guess
which are just awful against negative
I
strength.
guess
It's 3 extra credits each time.
Siffer's still a card, right? Like Siffer is
Cipher is
reduced to
still,
0.
yeah, Cipher is eternal points though, and not hugely widely played as far as I've seen.
It's true. I can't spell it because I
Is
think
it
it's
one
got
or
a thing.
zero?
I think it's 2. I think it's 2 points.
Is it 2 points for that?
I feel like it is. I've definitely built at least one deck with a Siffer in it,
Final
but it was Shaper. Um,
two.
okay, well that went slightly better. I didn't count the turns actually. Let's look at my stats. I think that was 12 turns, so like that's a 3 times increase.
It was,
Um,
yeah, it was my turn 6 as opposed to my turn 4.
no, I thought it was your turn 12. Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay, so I've increased by 50%. So shall we do one with the last? Shall we do one with your the third runner deck and complete the trio?
Yeah, absolutely. As you might guess, this is criminal.
I did assume, and I
Um,
assume we're playing Andy. Yeah,
yeah, this is again. I'm just using Narco's list for this one
got you.
because you can build Andy any which way really, but it's just the list I had to hand. I might tweak it a bit before the event. Um,
Where
but
am
yeah,
I? I'm here. Okay, let's whack this in here. This is unfortunately probably the well. We'll see. I'm like not the best criminal player. And this deck is the most. I guess I've got Aaron Maron, who can also be blanked. Okay, but I have multiple things here. So I've also got Citadel, right? Only one.
yeah,
I've got a Polyp. That could be quite good against you.
yeah. So I think you've got Aaron,
There's a bit.
Citadel, Miss Bones, and Polyp are all tech cards that can be very relevant.
Mm.
Um, but moreover, you have a Count Siphon in your deck, which just means I have to play the game very differently.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
This is going to slow you
and
down a lot, hopefully.
yeah,
Although, well, I do take 2 tags doing that, but I'll work that out as I go along. Um, that's well. Right, let's put this in here. Copy this across from here, and there is a game going up now. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of cards to look at.
it's so nice. I actually played a practice game of this format in the pub on Thursday night with my friend Tom,
Yeah.
who might be my glamorous assistant for the day itself. And I played Andromeda, and wow, drawing a 9 card hand feels so good. It's incredible.
Um,
And then you get the mulligan and draw 9 more.
yeah, like a little bit ridiculous. Not Yeti saying that New Angeles City Hall looks like they put a court card on a runner card, which I absolutely agree. It is the
Because
most.
it's a building.
It's the most building I'm a corp card ever, but it's a runner card. And Friedan saying that you're going to quickly slot the sweeps weeks in. Pretty pretty nice to get the like double sweeps week Ice HQ start against Andy, I would imagine.
Yeah, I've done that myself in the past. Not for a long time though. Let's do. I think I'll just do this now. Guarantee my op trigger. Install this card. Install.
Have I got currents in it? Obviously, I've got a current of some kind. What I'm on Grant, right? Fine. Yeah,
Yeah, Cobra
makes
cards.
sense. It's just like this is so ridiculous as a start.
It's not bad. Yeah.
It's all right. It's okay. Okay. Now the big question is, okay, I'm just gonna run HQ.
Okay. Oh, an agenda.
I am an idiot.
Nice for me.
I'm such a fool. Anyway,
No, you only need 4 more points. This is more
yeah,
agendas than you've stolen for the other 2 decks.
yeah, but let's say I had an Aramaron in my hand. Like, I definitely should have put him down
Ah,
before I ran and potentially could steal an agenda. Um,
you make a great point. That's a good one though.
yeah, that's a good card. Uh, and I think this is better right now.
Okay.
And this only protects net or brain, and I'm not worried about net or brain slash core. Probably should have trashed that Rashida. I guess that like
Potentially. You could do it right now with your political operative
no, I'm not going to do
before I use it if you want.
that. I am not going to
Okay.
do
Oh well. Not Orb. Just
that. I've
Rashida.
had
I'm
so many
going through this
cards
as
in my hand. Like it's a lot of cards.
yeah.
Oh, I was also meant to. I think I was meant to put this down. Okay, well that's a slight mistake.
Let's yeah. Okay. I will. Where's the Jeeves?
Mm.
Draw. 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 Install. Discard. These two, I guess.
Okay. Um. Okay. Hmm. I'm going to make the aggressive play, which is to do this into this.
Nice.
Fine.
found my secret tech.
Right. Uh-huh. So basically what you're saying is, oh, of course you have the second one. Right. So basically what you're saying, Rowan, is that you have an object which has tech against all of the runners which you brought to deal with.
In a sense, I mean, I have tech specifically against. This is the thing about Eternal, right? Is that like
I mean,
the
it is a tech war, isn't
you
it?
have to
It's
play
like tech
tech,
versus
yeah.
tech. Yeah.
You have to because the opposing tech means you just can't do anything if you don't answer it. Um, like New Identity City Hall, for example, would just mean my deck did nothing.
Mm.
Likewise, Employee Strike. Likewise, multiple account siphons. So I run the appropriate countermeasures. I'll gain 3 from my SSL. That was a good draw. So I'm going to make a new remote and res your friend of mine, this moon, and then I'm going
Not yet, he says. Cobra Bubbles, real nice guy, mean deck builder.
to. Oh, I suppose I should give you an opportunity to pull up my moons if you want to before I install that card.
That's kind of tricky. No, I don't think I want to do that yet.
Okay, let me know if you want me to
Yeah.
alt any time.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, and then I'll use my Jeeves click to nice RD, I think. And do I want to pop this now and get my op trigger this time? I think I will. Yeah, and I'll put out uh, the bankers. That might be greedy. I probably don't need that much money, but here we are.
I mean, I've got a lot of cards now. The problem is I don't have any money, and a lot of my money is going to be tied up into free account siphons, which are useless unless I can gain 8 credits to kill your sealed vault first. So that's
Yeah,
problematic, to say the least.
I mean, again, in terms of tech and counter tech, your misbones would be a very good draw here, for example.
Would be a great draw. Um, I think I'm going to need to start getting some accesses. I should probably put the Aramoron down first. I have not, and now I can't afford to. Is that more important than the Desperado? That's a tricky thing to answer.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say no. I think
I think right
Desperado
now
is
I kind of
better.
need the money. Uh-huh. Um, well, that can go. That can go. That can go. I think that can go. Kind of feel like Boomerang in a tour guide matchup is not the answer I'm looking for.
Yeah, not always. It's quite good against my other ice though. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's just start turn here, I guess. I'll gain the last 3 from SSL. Am I Jeevesing this turn? Doesn't look great for it. I'm
The
gonna
fact that you just
use
naturally drew into your your vault without having to ob it out as well is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, that was fortunate. I agree. I'm going to put this STS back from my hand and this Atlas back from archives.
I'm just chilling in
And then I'm
archives.
going to Ice HQ for safety.
Well, I feel like I'm a bit boned for money here. I guess I can run some of these servers and see what's up. Oh no, I know what that one is. I won't run that
You
one.
can undo if you want. Yeah, yeah, you know 4 and 5, I think.
Do I know 5? Oh, it's 5 volt. Okay, so I'll run
Yeah,
7.
I will. Uh, yeah, guess I may as well use my trigger here. Let's put some extra ice on the jeeves, I guess.
Um,
Yeah, that's fine.
might just check the bin in case. It's fine. You can purge me twice.
Purge. Oh, double purge. Exciting.
Oh, I didn't mean to get any credit there. That's... and then I'll draw. Oh yeah. That one to the bottom of the stack. Throw that out. Oh,
That's
did I not get my
nice.
install? Did I not run free time? Oh, I didn't because you popped aside the next. Oh, I would have run again. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
well.
Yeah. I guess it's not really fixable, unfortunately.
No, not at
Um.
all.
Okay, we're drawing. 1, 2, 3.
Probably not right now, not yet. It is 10:30, so me playing the guitar that is behind me is probably not going to be appreciated by my sleeping wife.
What am I discarding here? Um. Probably this. Yeah, it's always interesting when you get to that stage in the ob game where you have to think about what things you need to discard in case you need to shuffle them back in to opt for them later.
Yeah. That's no mun asking, howdy, have you tried out Chimera yet? We talked about it earlier. I am gonna trash that. We did talk about this earlier. Yeah, we have I haven't tried it yet. I'm kind of keen to. Actually, I'm not gonna. No, there's one face down here still worth running. Ooh, there's a Malia. That's interesting. Um, yeah, definitely keen to at some point. And then I'll just draw one, and I will bottom that card, and I think I check out a grant because I think there's. I'm kind of assuming that I can't whittle your money down at any point here. Now I don't know. Like maybe if I had a vamp, I'd need like 28 credits. So that's not happening. But yeah, even multiple siphons. I think I've lost that game a long time ago.
Yeah, I think if you were going to stop me, you would have getting enough money. You would have needed to trash this
Yeah,
bankers a while
well,
ago.
oh yeah, absolutely. Kind of feel like I drew about 20 cards and didn't find a siphon. And
That
well,
can happen,
I guess I've
unfortunately.
only yeah
I think criminal is probably the least consistent run of faction in Eternal because your card draw options are much less powerful than the other two factions.
Yeah.
But you have a
There's
lot of raw power,
there's
and
a
obviously you get to be anti, so that improves your consistency.
that's true. There's an absolute buckload of drawing Shaper as I found. Like if you just want to draw your entire
Yeah.
deck in about 3 turns, then it's quite easy to do it. Turns out that Joyride, not a great card in standard, but pretty good in Eternal.
I have not tried that, but that's very exciting.
Uh,
Oh, there she is.
that's finally something.
Okay. I will put back a face down and a Malia.
Okay, so
I
I
feel pretty
now
good about my
run
earlier discard
here.
decisions. Yes, this is the other Jeeves.
I can use bones for Polyp, right? Can I?
Uh, no, because Polyp is you're paying for the Polyp ability. It just happens to be the same number of credits that the trash cost is.
It's a shame.
So I yeah, don't believe you can.
Well then at this point I think I just draw one again. Like I just don't think the bankers is worth trashing. That's interesting. I think I keep that though for
Okay. I think,
now.
unfortunately, you're just a
I'm
tiny
a
late
I'm
here.
a credit short of trashing the Jeeves, and even if I took a credit
Yeah,
there, then I kind of thought that I might be able to use these credits on for the Polyp, but uh no go.
luckily I did not top deck my Malia, so I can still blank the Citadel here. Uh, so I will do like so. Ob for not a 0 cost, not a -1 cost, but a 1 cost card. And select Citadel. And boom goes bar.
Boom.
Turn 7. Hey, so
All
technically,
right. Okay. So
by our metrics,
I,
Andy
I
wins the race.
I did. I felt that I was doing. I that felt like the worst one to me, which is bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it
It's
was also maybe maybe not my worst draw, but certainly my slowest draw
um,
in terms of assembling the combo.
yeah, it definitely felt like pretty rough on my side. Now so now that I've taken 3 absolute whoopings, I feel like I need to try and get one back. So I'm gonna try and play a deck which I've put together that against this, if you don't mind,
Absolutely, yeah, no
just
problem.
so that I can feel like I maybe have some chance. Now, what I put this together earlier, is this the one I want? I think it might be.
I
Um,
think from those games, oh, thank you for being a beta tester for my silly side event format, by the way. That's
oh,
useful,
absolutely fine.
useful input because, I mean, what we've learned there basically is that the games are going to be fairly short, fairly high octane, um, interesting games, which is perfect for the kind of gunslinging format,
Yeah,
I think. You do
absolutely.
it
I
in
think
between things and stuff.
I
So yeah, I'm
ideal
pretty
kind of
pleased with it.
gunslinger. Yeah, this I think is what I want to play, and we'll see how we do. Have I got? I don't think I've got this version. So okay. Whoa, I've got points to spend technically, but I'm not going to spend them on anything.
Oh,
Um, I could spend them on stuff. I could spend them on stuff that specifically texts into your deck, and I'm not going to do that because I'm a nice guy.
if you want to listen, if you want to put rumor mills in your deck, I won't blame you. It's a good card in the format. It just happens to
No,
be extremely good against me.
I'm just gonna play good, honest Netrunner, um,
Okay,
and we're
I
gonna see
mean,
what
I'm
happens.
I'm arguably playing bad, dishonest Netrunner. So You know.
I want to right game going up now. I want to prove that that Eternal is for good guys too. Right, here we go. Guys and girls,
So long as you're
sorry,
not.
and other people.
Oh,
Hmm.
guys and girls behind the curtain in this case.
Guys and girls behind the curtain and all others. And
I like
boats.
Jesminder. I do like Jesminder.
I mean, what I probably should have done is put a boat in here, like just to really like go with the theme. Um, and it's an interesting thing
What
because
you-
although it is correct that I think boat is very expensive for the format and probably isn't like it's certainly nowhere near what you'd kind of expect it to be. Um, it does eat through a lot of the ice, which some of it is, if you're on Mother Goddess sort of shenanigans, then endurance is a pretty good way to deal with that as an option.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. Um, Now, I think you being on Jesminder means I should play around a count siphon, right? Assuming Jesminder stops interacts with siphon, right? That's one of the things she does. Um,
Potentially. I have
Potentially.
like three versions of this deck, and at least one of them has a count siphon in. I won't tell you which.
Good to know.
Okay.
Trying to think what else you're doing with tags.
Now, this is like a really pretty awful opening hand. I'm not gonna lie.
That's unfortunate. Could be you won't be doing like code siphon, presumably. You could be doing what does Dorm Computer do? Is that a thing?
That's kind of like again. That's like I wouldn't be playing
No,
Jes
no,
if I
Dorm
was
Computer
playing.
does what Jesminder does,
Yeah,
but
it's literally Jesminder on a piece of hardware.
I'm thinking,
Um,
yeah.
would actually be a great card in current standard format.
Yeah, it'd be a nice piece of tech. Uh, oh, the VRcation. Nice. Okay, I have some backers. Um,
Have a I think what is a really unfortunate turn two here. Um, I mulled what was probably the better keep, but we shall see. I thought I could do better than it. Apparently, I couldn't.
Alas, I will. I guess I like R&D. This is the other thing about Eternal is that when you're playing against a known deck list or like one that you can make good assumptions about based on their ID, changes your play quite a lot.
Yeah,
Whereas when I'm playing
absolutely.
against something relatively unknown like this, I do have to slow down just to be a bit more safe.
That's it.
Um,
Like I guess like you for instance there's no rumor mills in any of your decks. Um, you
yeah,
don't know that I'm not playing rumor mill. You don't know that I'm not playing I don't know hacktivist or which I guess would I think that's the way I beat a narco on stream was he had the kill, he res the Jeeves, and I hacktivist the either the mad or the high profile target from hand. I can't remember which. But yeah, no,
yeah,
I remember what it was. It was he he played a mad, trashing the Jeeves to get some tech to blank something which I had out, and by resing the Malia, it knocked the it knocked the kill out of his hand, which was very funny, or very funny for me anyway.
yeah. Hacktivist is definitely really powerful. I mean, all three of the pointed currents are very good against this deck.
Yeah,
Strike is maybe the one that's like you have the most play against Strike as Ob, but you are obliged to play three of Paywall in every Ob deck because you just have to have a counter current. So many of your cards are
also
banked
like
through the mill or
it's potentially a
obviously
lot of
overhanded.
money. Like even like not it's they probably need to run some stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's not the worst card to have as it is.
Um, 1, 2, 3. Which of these don't I want? Guess this one. Okay.
Right. And let's do this. See what this is. Don't want
A moose. Okay, moose.
that. There is a moose
With some.
loose. It's about
Yeah.
this hoose. Yeah, unfortunately,
Oh,
my econ start has not been great, but there we go. We're gonna pull this one back. Feel.
yeah. I've had a little bit of a slow start, and your moose is going to do some good work, I think.
I hope so. Okay, right. Let's get rid of one of these. I think we draw. Um, I have to click for credits. It feels so bad.
It's a tough one.
I could draw for exactly dirty laundry. I think I should have just clicked for the 2 credits. A feeling that would have been much better.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'm
I
with you
mean,
there.
it's often true in standard that drawing, if your deck is built right, drawing is better than clicking for credits. And in Eternal, when your cards are more powerful on average, that should in theory be more true, but it is always a hard call to make. Let's achieve. Draw, draw, and hmm, yeah, that's
Hmm. All right. Well, at least I get moose here, so that's good. Let's moose
that is good.
away one of these. Okay. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, I'm gonna play an interdiction.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
I'm gonna account siphon you.
That is nice tech. I do have something of an answer.
That is something of an answer. Okay, thinking. Uh,
Interdiction might make me have to check the timing chart. Oh, I've been slapped.
You have been slapped. I'll let you gain a credit.
I will gain a credit. I'll border control, I guess.
Mhm. Draw one and take a credit. Feels bad, but really hoping that you might just not be on border control. Hadn't seen it yet. I mean, it does make a lot of sense in Ob, um, and probably really good in Eternal, where there's some very powerful run events.
Yeah, that's the thing. Um, Sometimes as well, if the runner runs at the wrong time, you can pop it for Cyberdex and then pop that into Jeeves and get your kill. So now then, as I understand it, because the timing rules have changed since interdiction was printed, I can res a
So
thing
you
on
want to
my
know
turn.
if there's a Rashida fire, if there's a
Yeah,
Rashida
exactly.
window.
I'm now looking at the rules and I believe that there is, but we'll see what JNet says.
Yeah, I
Um,
think there might
I
be because I
Yeah, it's
feel
allowed
like
me to res that.
they're yeah, I think that's correct. Which is a
Yeah,
shame that I
I
didn't go
believe
in
it
and
is.
check that because. Mm,
Um, so I will install res, install, play this current, and then I will also take the opportunity to purge, trigger arb, all the branch work, and then okay. Now the question is, are you on interdiction and another current? It's gonna screw me over.
that'd be
I'm
quite spicy indeed.
It would. I think I'm going to take the chance. I think you're not, so I'm going to just let you carry on.
Okay. Trash this. Um, okay. Let's check archives.
Okay, I will use my spin doctor to face downs, I guess. I'll get a
Oh,
credit for my paywall implementation, which will immediately go away. Purge.
it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, the money's nice for me here. Speaking of, I will gain 6. And I will install. Oh, I only have one target left. Probably should have tracked that a bit better. Oh well, that's a good one.
That is a good one. Fairly ridiculous card in Ob.
Yep, although I can't figure it for Ob this turn, but it paid me
No.
anyway.
Um. See, my opening hand was just nothing but draw. No money, ton of draw,
Hmm.
and that has petered out quite like it's the wrong way round. When some of my draw costs money, I definitely need a little bit of money first. Need a kid go and trash that. feels like it gives you too much value in odd, but I think it's probably too late already. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I can't deal with all of this. So I will somewhat assume. Yeah, can't do that either. I think I'm pretty doomed. I can't imagine that I'm not in
Yeah,
this
you are
situation.
immediately
Yeah.
doomed, I'm afraid. Uh, Pardon me while I decline all my ob triggers. Very important.
Boom.
There we go. And there's your siphons.
Oops,
Nice.
I just closed my chat. That was a mistake. Um, well,
Talk to
uh,
me about Jesminder. What's your, if you don't mind me asking, what's your plan?
I
Is it
just
mostly
love.
just siphon
I
shaper?
Yeah. I mean, this is like I think the better version of this doesn't actually play account siphon.
Oh, interesting.
I think the more I try playing account siphon in Eternal, I think it's a terrible idea. So this was something which I put together like as a concept against this because basically what Corps do as soon as you play an account siphon is they just res all the assets which they have like 20 million of on the board, and your account siphon does nothing. So my plan was to play interdiction and then to account siphon you so that you can do that. Obviously, old Clever Clogs over here goes and puts a border control on HQ, um, which completely pretty much shut me out. Because I think if I land that siphon, then at least I've got a bit of money to go on, and I've brought you down a bit, and maybe I can go somewhere from there. With it not landing, I don't have much of an option there. I think even just I think the better version of this just plays hot pursuits and Temujins and one single spicy vamp. Uh,
Tasty.
and uses that to kind of deal with CI, for instance. You can draw an absolute ton with this deck. It
Mm,
um, puts a lot of pressure on all the centrals um, very, very fast. And I just had the most abysmal. Like, yeah, the fact that I had to click for credits even once makes, like, is just testament to I think how bad my draw felt in that game. Like I've played a few games with this deck. It generally feels very very good. Uh, that felt appalling, but you know, I guess
yeah. I,
I
I
guess
like the look of this kind of dynamic shaper as opposed to the control shaper. I
oh
think
yeah, this
you've
is
got a lot going for you. Like Slap Vandal is a nice addition. I think you can play any of the powerful currents quite well. Yeah, you have a lot of impactful run events available to you to really put the pressure on. I like it. It's a nice shout.
Augustus says that Doof might be better than Siphon. I mean, maybe not in
Ooh,
Jesminder, but outside of it, I mean, I guess you're not paying points for it. 2 clicks though.
I don't agree. I don't think I agree. I think the bad things about Siphon, well, the only bad thing is the points, really. Like, the tags, fine, but you can deal with those in different ways, and in some matchups, you happily just take the tags and keep them. Um, and yeah, like it's less influence, it's less credits, it's less clicks, and it's more money for you if it does land. And it still has the same problem of if they res all their stuff and you don't take their money. That's Dufe the same problem, but you lost 2 clicks in the process. Um, so yeah, color me unconvinced, I think.
Yeah. But I definitely like after playing that, even with my tech, like I just don't think that Siphon is that good. Like, I mean, it obviously is good if you. It's a good card. It's a very powerful card. Please don't take the points away from it. But yeah, I maybe I just I'm just not a criminal player. I can't do it. I can't
I
do
mean,
that
yeah,
sort
you've
of
you've
control
built
thing.
a shaper you've built a shaper deck which is very criminal in style, I think, interestingly. I think Siphon is it's Eternal is Eternal Corpse are robust enough that Siphon can't be a game plan in and of itself. The thing that makes the max Siphon deck good actually really is Data Leak Reversal,
Yeah,
DLR, the other win condition that lets you mill the corp once you're tagged. Um, that is obviously a really powerful card as well to back up the Siphon plan. Um, but I mean, this thing you have going on of like you apply pressure with Siphon and you apply pressure with indexing is like a convincing one-two punch to me. Um, I think like the power of Siphon is not just in whether it actually takes credits from the corp or not, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, one thing I would say is you were playing Jasminda. When we played the other week, you were playing a different shaper identity. I won't spoil your tech, but it was a different shaper identity. I wasn't expecting a count siphon. I got a count siphoned, and I just lost that game as a result. Whereas with Jasminda, obviously the first thing you look at them and see if you know Eternal is siphon. So I put border control on HQ, right? Which I
yeah,
wouldn't necessarily
yeah.
do against another shaper.
That's true. I remember which deck I was playing against you, and I think that maybe I won't spoil that one because I don't think I've played many people against that, and I think that has a screw it, I'm just gonna spoil it. So that was this deck. This is Siphon combo Arasana. Um,
Oh, that's not actually the one I was thinking of,
oh,
but
was it not?
yeah,
I've built a
that's all
lot
right.
of
We'll
Nintendo
keep the
decks
other one a
recently.
secret.
Oh, was it? Okay. Uh, okay, so it was Siphon combo Tau?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think both of these, if you want to do some ridiculous stuff, like both of these felt very good. Playing Siphon in Tau feels amazing when you've got Siphon and Interdiction in like if they actually want to put ice anywhere, then you can move it. But I moved onto Arasana because I actually think that Arasana is incredibly viable um in Eternal, and yeah, maybe I should go back to testing that deck out because that has a real ability to like account siphon turn one when you haven't even installed anything yet. Because you're just like uh they resin ice, you install a slap vandal, you're through their ice because most ice in Eternal has a single subroutine. Most of it is either only
yeah,
in the run or it's one subroutine which does a lot. Um,
yeah.
you'll
Hush is pretty good as well, right?
Yeah,
Hush beats Tour Guide. Hush beats
yeah.
Loki. A
Hush
couple of
goes
other things that you
into
play.
almost all of my runner decks because it's like it is the best way to deal with tour guide by like a long shot. There's other stuff which you can do, but Hush
Uh,
costs one and you can run through it forever. Done.
I think Parasite is arguably
Okay, yeah,
better.
yeah. Parasite is also good,
Um,
which
but
you can also play
uh,
in Arasana.
yeah, Parasana, if you will, is a hell of a. That's really something.
Yeah,
That's brutal.
and maybe I have a clot which in the Arasana deck which could very easily be a parasite. Um, yeah. So that I think that's this is maybe a deck which is better suited against your ob in terms of the fact that this is a deck which is actually doing something kind of dumb and potentially wins out of nowhere on turn 2 or 3. Probably not turn 2, but like maybe 3 or 4. And if you land a early account siphon, then you've got at least maybe 2 or 3 turns to set up. Lazy, how you doing? You are just in time, or you're just in time to catch the end of WooTube, technically. This isn't the theoretical infinite click deck that is out there. I think it's I don't know if it's necessarily viable because I think to actually get it, you need to have two pieces of ice on a server, and uh, very few Eternal decks which aren't Scorpios do that. And I think if you're against Scorpios, you've got other issues.
I mean, hilariously, there is a new emerging Eternal deck that does want to put multiplies on a server, and it's the Infinite Credits Corp deck.
Oh yeah, that's
So it'd be
super
quite
fun. That
funny
is
if
true.
the counter tech for the Infinite Credits deck was the Infinite Clicks deck.
I mean,
Uh, I think we know which is better.
you technically get you could both be running the combo at the same time, right? Like theoretically, I think.
I mean, yeah, but the Corp would just have a ton of credits, and the runner would have the rest of the game to figure out what to do about it. So
The rest,
I
literally,
think
they would have
literally as
10
many clicks as they want.
million
Yeah,
clicks. Yeah. Um,
I think it'll be fine.
Although I did really like, I think someone had posted. It might have been Mike P. Actually, I feel like it was maybe them. Um, posted in Slack like there was some discussion of the infinite click deck, and it's like the meme is someone's playing the infinite click deck against um MT, and as they finally reach the server, MT installs a uh installs an Excalibur which they can't break, and then they are left to eternally click for credits because it's the only action that they've got that they can really do. Which I found very, very funny as an option. Augustus thinks that usually 13 clicks are plenty enough to win, and yeah, I think I'd probably agree.
Agreed.
Uh, I think
Hyperdrive is a hell of a card.
I think the Arasana deck normally gets to about sort of 7 clicks on the silly turns, and that's plenty enough to probably siphon you, deep dive you, score like 2 notorieties, and hopefully clean up the game at that point. So anyway, one last shout out. We should do a last shout out uh, for your tournament. So I'm going to just pull it back up on Always Be Running. Here it is. So if you want to do one last shout out for the East Anglian Champs before we sign off for the night.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, just to say again, it's a fun tournament that is largely casual with some fun side events, but also if people want to bring decks they're testing for Worlds or they're testing for UK Nats in November, we're more than happy to have a few spikes among our number. I know a few of the Norwich people will be approaching the tournament that way actually, so that's absolutely fine. You can try your hand at beating the Eternal deck that Bar was unable to beat this evening. Um, I'm probably worse at playing it in person, so you might have a better shot. Um, and to be fair, I drew really hot tonight, so I might have used up all my luck. But yeah, we also have a bunch of exciting prizes. I don't know if you can scroll down to where the photos are.
Let me. Here we
But
go. We've got Orca playmats supplied
the play
by
mats, which people love.
Yakuza. Um, Really cool regolith mining license, which I've only just seen. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and
yeah, so the Regolith and the Spin Doctor, which is the next in the list, are both drawn by Brindlemold, who is a local-ish player from down in Suffolk. Um, really exciting, relatively new player, who's just been kind of taking the alt art world by storm lately,
yeah,
and has
this
got
spin
a
doctor's
entry into the
amazing.
Worlds prizes. They've also done a punitive Counter-Strike for Worlds, which is really cool. So really excited for them at the moment. And then, of course, there's the DreamNet, as aforementioned, the Contraband DreamNet, illustrated by Sarah Harrington, who, yeah, I think has produced a really wonderful piece that I
Yeah,
really like.
like
So yeah, if you want a
really
chance to pick up any of those and play games and meet people and have a good time in Cambridge on the 30th of September, we'd love to have you.
amazing stuff. Not yet. He says make sure to mention the Friday stuff. I assume that
Oh, sure.
did you mention the Friday stuff?
I can do that. Well, so if you want to come to Cambridge on the Friday the 29th of September, um, the we'll be in the pub. the Burley Arms on Newmarket Road in Cambridge, and Ewan's managed to convince a number of friends and colleagues of his to come along and learn Netrunner that evening. So we're going to be having a little learn and teach session, and also I will have the Eternal decks there. There's boat race decks. So if you want to try your hand at the boat race on the Friday night, you could do that, and maybe we'll even do a bit of the dream crushing ahead of time as well. So yeah,
I was
side
about to
events.
say, I
Teaching.
was about to joke like, oh, so you're gonna be teaching the newbies. Obviously, you're gonna be playing mutually assured destruction ob versus Siphon Whizz, and then you're like, yeah, well, I'm gonna be bringing the Eternal decks. So something that I should
Yeah.
probably shout out as well, which I kind of forgot to on a much smaller scale, but we're doing a little pretty friendly standard GNK on a weeknight because I realised that we didn't have any weekends which I had free coming up, so I'm running that. That is on the 28th. So you can come over here to Bristol on the 28th. That's the Thursday night, and then just whiz over to Norwich. Sorry, to Cambridge. It's a mere 4-hour drive. You'll be fine. But yeah, we're just doing a little thing on Thursday in Bristol. If you want to come along, it's like Thursday night. We'll start around about 6 o'clock. If you want to come, do let me know if I don't already know that you're coming, just so that I make sure that I wait for everyone because we'll start as soon as we can. Around 6, just so that it's a weeknight. People have to go to bed at a sensible time. We'll do about 3 rounds of double-sided Swiss, a little bit of a world's warm-up, and some fun prizes there. Cool. Right, I think that's me done for the night. I was up at 5:45 this morning to drive to London, so I am definitely ready for bed now. But Rowan, Cobra Bubbles, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I will decide if I still want to play Eternal after I go and review some of the footage from tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining the stream. I'm sure we will catch you next week.